Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wild Ginger Running YouTube channel, live broadcast and podcast. Today, we are talking to patron Sally Gilson, who broke.
Hi.
Hello, Sally. Sally broke her ankle really badly on a hike celebrating her 50th birthday and had to be rescued by Keswick Mountain Rescue. So, hello, Sally. Great that you can join us today. How's your day going so far?
Well, it's been pretty chill since, really. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Claire. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem at all. We've got tons of questions to ask you. But first, we've just got to do a little shout out to our sponsors, Naak Sports Nutrition. They make energy bars and waffles. I just had a waffle and an energy bar after my swim this morning, actually. And they make recovery powders and real food purees in pouches. And I've just received the energy gels. Hop onto my social media, onto my Instagram, and have a look at the chocolate energy gel that I was munching yesterday morning after my run and swim. So if you want to try those out, they're all really delicious. It's code WildGingerRunning for 15% off at uk.naak.com. So fill your boots, people. So, Sally, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you want to share your story so that people know what to do if they're ever in an emergency situation like yours, and to make sure everybody's packing the right kit. So you are a trail runner and an ultra runner, but you were at that time training for the Epona 100-mile ultra race, which happened last June. But you were actually out on a hike, not a run. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, so my lovely other half, Vinny, had bought, my birthday present, my 50th birthday present, was a week's hiking up in the Lake District. So I was using time on feet rather than running for that week. And we had a whole series of hikes planned for the week. We got one done.
Oh, one. You got one done.
Well, yes.
Was this on day 2 then?
Day 2 was actually quite a miserable day. So we just did a very short little recce of how to get onto this route. So day 3 was going to be the big Newlands round, which would have been a really stunning walk.
Yeah. And so how far into the walk were you? Whereabouts were you?
About halfway. And we were very, very lucky where we were in the point, because we had phone reception.
Oh, yeah. So tell me what happened. How did it happen?
So, like I said, we'd done kind of all the technical bits. So we'd done all the climbing and the rocks and all that. And we were just coming off the mountain. And it was a very gentle, nice, grassy path. But as with many paths in the Lake District, there was a little stream that you couldn't quite see, which was caused a muddy section, and I just slipped. And I always describe it as my leg went one way and my ankle stayed put, whereas Vinny will say that I just literally just collapsed down onto my ankle. And it was one of those things where I heard that snap. It was, yes. And I don't know whether that's something that the brain sort of tells you, it's, or whether you actually really do hear it. But I swear I heard it. And I fell to the ground and looked, and the ankle was at a very, very sad angle. The kind of angle you don't want to see it. And it took I think it took a few seconds then to compute, and then the pain hit of the break. And Vinny said, "Oh, do you just need a few moments and then walk it out, or is this serious?" And I went, "I need an ambulance."
Yeah.
So yes, he accused me of being a drama queen, but yeah.
Until he saw the X-rays.
Yes.
Oh no.
I think then he realised the seriousness of it. I think I probably went as white as a sheet.
Oh no. And so how did the pain compare? Like, have you ever felt any pain like that in any part of your life?
I think the only time where it's vaguely come close is gallstones. If anybody's experienced that, it's very painful. But no, I think this is probably the most pain I've ever endured. I've not given birth to kids, so I've got no idea in terms of comparison with that. But it was pretty acute. So we managed to sort of get me out of the puddle and put me so that the leg was balanced and in one place. But the moment I sort of did any kind of movement, it was sheer agony.
All over again, yeah. So you just had to keep it really still, and then what happened?
So we were incredibly fortunate. I was very, very fortunate, to be honest, for the entirety of what happened. Just around the corner happened to be two lovely people hiking. They saw us. She was a GP, and he had links to Keswick Mountain Rescue. So at this point, Vinny had already tried to phone an ambulance, and we'd been told it would take up to 5 hours, of which we knew that I couldn't lie there for 5 hours. So the chap said that it would be a mountain rescue job anyway, because of where we were. The ambulance wouldn't be able to get to us. And obviously the GP very kindly told me what painkillers I could be taking, just how much of like things like ibuprofen. So she kind of put my mind a little bit of rest, although she also identified the seriousness of the problem. So it was very useful, because they then put the phone call through to Mountain Rescue and could give them the correct information. And one first top tip is always make sure you've got what 3 words on your phone.
Yeah.
Because we could tell them exactly where we were, and so they could locate us straight away.
So useful, isn't it? But what if you hadn't had phone signal? I suppose Vinny would have had to run up the hill, or somebody would have had to run somewhere.
And this is something actually that we've looked into since. I haven't purchased yet, because we're not going to be doing that kind of hiking for a little while. But my next purchase will definitely be a satellite phone to take it. So you can actually get them on like a monthly subscription. They don't have to cost the earth.
Yeah.
But at least then you've always got reception where you can just almost send like an SOS.
Oh, wow.
Because I think when especially if you're going hiking on your own, I think it's really important, because obviously I wouldn't have been able to just run up to a mountain to try and get signal.
You'd have to blow your little whistle. Like the olden days. Peep, peep.
And a sheep might come running up.
Yeah, or a dog. Hopefully a dog, because then that might be attached to a person. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's we were really, really lucky. The first person to arrive from Keswick Mountain Rescue was there within, I think, about 6 minutes. So he was just in the vicinity. So he ran up
he was
to
just
us.
Hiking, was he? So what hill were you exactly on? Can
you
remember?
You know what? I should have double checked it. It was the Newlands Round, and it was just by, there's a famous little path that you see in a lot of photos, zigzagging up, called Sail.
Sail.
I think that's
okay.
Yes. So it was just by there, basically. So we weren't far from the road, which was a godsend.
Yeah.
So he sort of ran up to us, and then the whole team arrived within 20 minutes.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And they're all
They
volunteers.
were amazing.
They're all volunteers, and I've put the donation link into the film description and the podcast show notes below. So there's one link into Keswick, and then there's one link into Mountain Rescue overall, England and Wales. But yeah, so like, what did they say when they arrived, Mountain Rescue?
It's really strange, because in some respects I remember it quite vividly, but other bits clearly I was a little bit out of it. So they did tell me that, well, they obviously straight away had to try and get my boot off, which was fun.
Oh gosh. Did they give you any painkillers at this point?
So I was given gas at that point.
Yeah.
And they checked my foot over, and at that point they said, we need to reset it on the mountain. So there's a type of break. It wasn't a compound fracture, so it wasn't through the skin, but the break was so severe that if you don't try and realign it within a certain amount of time, you can lose the blood flow, which ultimately means you'd lose the foot. So they said, this is going to hurt. And they very kindly gave me something called a fentanyl lollipop.
Oh, lovely.
So fentanyl is about 100 times stronger than morphine, I believe. So that mixed with the gas made me very, very jolly. And they reset it and splint it on the mountain. And then I had a lovely sledge trip off that side of the mountain.
Yes. I think we've got a video here of the sledge trip.
They told Vinny to video it. They said you're going to want it.
Yeah, so the video is just playing now. So how were you feeling as they were sledging you down the mountain? There's about, for the people on the podcast, there's about 6 people holding the sledge with ropey things, or 5 people, and then 1 person ahead, sort of coxing the crew, as it were, making sure they go the right way down to the road. How long were you stretchered down for? How long did it take?
Oh, it really didn't. I don't think it took very long at all. Just sort of maybe about 5 minutes or so. We luckily weren't too far from that road point.
Yeah.
But the route they had to take down, as you can probably see in the film, it was a little bit precarious, and I was worried that Vinny was going to land up going over on his ankle, because he's done it so many times recently, and he did. Because he was lugging all of their gas and air down for them to help. But it was a bumpy ride, but it was fun. I think at that point you know that you're safe.
Yeah.
Somebody's got you, and I think that was the scariest bit between the mountain rescue arriving and speaking to the ambulance people.
Yeah.
It was the fear that no one was coming for you.
Yeah, and being in that pain and knowing that it was a really serious situation with your foot, and like, how did you keep warm? Like, you must have taken extra layers even though you weren't planning to need them.
Yeah, so I am I've never been a Girl Scout or anything like that, but my mum always drove it into us, be prepared. So even if you go out in the car, I always had water, I always had a coat, even if it was a warm day, because you never know if you're going to break down. And I've always done that with running as well. So doesn't matter whether you're on a hike, whether you're on a 5K, I've always gone out with my little backpack on. I've always got the medical kit in there, extra layers. I've got one of the foils that you get given at the end of a race.
Yeah.
It's always in the pack. And because this was March, I had sort of scarf, hat, and all that kind of stuff with me anyway. So we actually had 2 of the foils. So one we could put down on the ground, one was wrapped around. So I managed to stay warm. More of a problem for Vinny, who does not go out quite so prepared.
Oh no!
And did not have extra layers. So it was a good job that we didn't have to wait for too long. Otherwise, he would have got very cold. And I would say that's another tip. Make sure your other half, whoever's going out with you, whoever is running with you, also has extra layers, because you could both be waiting around for a little while.
I always call you waterproof trousers. Like the amount of my friends that don't take waterproof trousers if they don't think it's going to rain, and it's like, well, they're not just for rain; they're very, very warm.
Yes, they are, and it gets windy up on a mountain, so they are great windproofing. And you just never know whether you're going to be waiting around, and the accident might not happen to you, but you might come across like this couple did, us who had got into trouble. So yes, always be prepared. We didn't particularly use much in the medical kit because, like I said, it wasn't a compound, but I think it's still vital to take the medical kit with you. I had some painkillers as well, so I could take those. Not that I particularly touch the size, but
yeah, it made you feel better, like placebo-wise, like I'm doing something about this. Oh, that's true. Well, Hannah Basley was very interested in this story. She's actually watching live now. Hello, Hannah. So she said, I do think ultra runners are more prepared for things to go wrong because we're used to carrying a kit list. She said she was out on a training hike for the Summer Spine Challenger a couple of years ago and ended up using a lot of her kit to warm up a semi-collapsed hiker who was shivering under a flapping foil blanket while her sister was up the hill trying to contact Mountain Rescue. So she ended up in Hannah's foil bivvy bag, her Alp kit bivvy bag, like a proper bivvy bag made of material, her mid-layer and a woolly hat. And she was nice and warm by the time that Mountain Rescue arrived. And Mountain Rescue had to pass Hannah a down jacket to keep her warm while she waited for all her stuff to come back. She was getting pretty chilly waiting around. So yeah, it just goes to show that you just never know when it's going to happen. So even if you're just out for a 10-mile jog in the mountains, you have to take everything and be prepared.
And make sure someone knows where you're going as well. I think if you're going out on your own, I think what it did make me think about was all of those times on the training runs where I have been out on my own over into the Black Mountains or wherever, make sure somebody knows your route. Somebody knows what time you started off, what time you're expecting to finish. I think it's really important.
Yeah, all the old school stuff that before we had mobile phones, we used to do more, didn't we? Because it really was going into the wilderness at that point. And now you just think, oh, I'll just phone someone, but there's not always signal. And Severine, who's watching live as well, she says, hello, I have everything with me, even in road marathons, overkill. I just can't get it out of my head that I have to be prepared. So I think that's no bad thing. I mean, you know, you might get cold there in the same situation.
I don't think you can ever be over-prepared, only under-prepared.
Yeah. And so what would you like to say, if any of the mountain rescue team are watching now, what would you like to say to them?
They were just, they were amazing at completely putting me at ease. The moment they arrived, I think, as I said earlier, I kind of knew I was safe.
Yeah.
They just kept on reassuring that they were going to get me down off the mountain, that an ambulance was going to be on its way, although it wasn't in the end. It got diverted. But they were just so quick. And obviously they don't panic. So I've done it a million times before. And I understand that it's one of the things that they do the most often, dealing with ankle issues.
Yeah.
So they knew exactly what they were doing. But they were just a really lovely bunch of guys as well.
Yeah.
Very funny and told lots of jokes.
Oh, cool. Take your mind off it.
Yeah. And so they were very good at distraction tactics.
Yeah.
But it was phenomenally quick. And then they got me off the mountain into the back of that Land Rover and took me off to Keswick Cottage Hospital, which unfortunately had shut at that point. We got there a little bit too late. But then they absolutely organised everything. So they were trying to liaise with an ambulance, but unfortunately it got diverted off to a mountain biker, which sounds like he was in a worse state than I was. So that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But just a huge thanks to them, because like you said earlier, they are all volunteers. They do this out of the goodness of their heart. They clearly love the mountains, but they're just amazing. Absolutely amazing. And yes, we did give a very nice donation afterwards, and I would encourage anybody to give a donation to their local one. It doesn't have to be Keswick, but any mountain rescue, because when you do get into trouble, they will always be there for you.
Yeah.
They
just drop everything, don't they? Like, they're volunteers. That's not even their job, and they just drop everything in the middle of the night, 2:00 in the morning, howling rain, weather, because these things don't always happen on a nice day, like for you guys. But yeah, they're just incredible people. Yeah.
And I think I'm trying to remember what call out number I was, but they are having a record number of call outs.
Yeah.
And we kind of discussed it. I don't remember over much of the conversation, but I remember talking to them a lot. But there is obviously a rise in the amount of people doing trail running, and that has increased their call outs a little bit.
Oh, sorry, everybody, for encouraging people.
They weren't being negative about it.
Yeah.
They love the fact that people are coming into the mountains.
Yeah.
But they do want to see people being a little bit more prepared.
Yes. Yeah, definitely more prepared. But I mean, you were really prepared, and still an accident happened to you. And you're a really experienced runner, and you've run over much more difficult terrain than that. And it just seems to always, it's just accidents, isn't it? You just have an accident, and you can't help it.
Yeah, it is the most innocuous thing, because normally I suppose when you are over the technical stuff, you are concentrating quite a bit, and I'm a little bit of a nervous person over the technical stuff, so I do slow right down and really concentrate on my footing. And I suppose it is those moments where you're just walking along, you're chatting, not really perhaps paying quite so much attention, and it's just a slip. It's so easily done. So
Yes,
easily done.
it is so easily done. And Kat's here on the live chat as well, and she just says, my colleagues always laugh at me when I turn up for school trips fully kitted out for all eventualities. But it's not often that we don't use something out of it. So there you go.
Yeah, I think the first time I ever used my medical kit is so I live in the Forest of Dean, and we've got this great little cycle path that lots of runners use as well. But it's a family cycle path, really nice and easy. And I think the first time I used my medical kit was a kid had just fallen off their bike.
Yeah.
So I'm rushing in with the plasters and.
Yeah, and you're a godsend to anybody like that. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah, we should all aim to be like that, I think. And so I'm going to show a picture now of your X-ray and your foot there. So there's an X-ray, and there's something in your bone that looks very like a hairbrush that's sticking into it, and then there's two pins as well. So can you just talk us through what surgery you then had? Like, when did that take place?
So when we got to Carlisle Hospital, again, I cannot fault anybody. They were amazing. I was assessed very quickly, and they realised that they would have to have another go at the resetting.
Oh no!
Which sped me through the process again, but this time so it was even more drugs. They called it G&T.
Oh yeah.
Which was great. So they had to have 2 more goes at resetting it.
Oh gosh.
So they knew that I would have to have an operation, but it was the difference between having an emergency op, so I suppose one within a few hours, or waiting until the next day. So the second time they managed to get it just about enough in place, so we could wait until the next day. And so what they did, as you can see from the X-ray, I've got 2 screws on the left-hand side of the ankle, and the plate on the right-hand side. So it was a little bit daunting. Ironically, the week before, I'd been with my best friend, who I've known for 44 years, and we were both talking about how neither one of us had ever broken a bone.
Oh no! Never have that conversation. Oh no! This is why we've got to the bottom of it now.
Yes. So I went and truly broke something. So it was.
You won.
I won. They call it a bimalia fracture. And it was an ORIF operation. So it is quite a major one.
Yeah.
But because we were up in Carlisle, I just really wanted to get home at that point. The holiday accommodation was great, but there were steps up to it, and so it just wouldn't have been ideal going back to that. So they managed to whiz us through pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I completely lucked out because I got my own little room to recover in. I know. And because the operation actually happened on my 50th birthday, the nurses in recovery brought me up a cupcake.
Oh, that's lovely. Those little
and sang
touches.
Happy birthday.
It's just
it was
little
lovely.
touches like that make it all worthwhile. And will those bits have to be in your ankle forever, or do they get taken out?
It really depends. Some people, if it doesn't affect them, if it doesn't cause any any pain, they tend to leave them in.
Okay.
They only remove if it starts to irritate. So I will wait and see on that.
Yeah.
It was looking really positive, but then at the last consultation, the break on the left-hand side, the ankle still hasn't fully fused, so it's a little bit delayed.
Oh, that sucks.
I did start to Google what would happen, and then decided best not to.
Yeah.
Because it could result in another op, but we don't talk about that. It's gonna fuse. It's gonna fuse. It's just taking its time.
Yeah. So what's that? Where the bones, they just, like, where it's broken, it needs to fuse back together.
Yes, it's where the screws are actually in. It's not fully fused, but I don't know whether that's to do with my age. I'm not too sure. Obviously, if it happened when I was younger, it probably would have healed a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
But
well, do you have to take anything, like a supplement or anything, to encourage the bone growth?
I've not been told to. I've sought a few people's opinion on this.
Yeah.
Most medical people say no. it will heal.
Oh, okay.
So I've kind of kept to that. I had been taking some calcium because I was going through the menopause. And up until last year, I was vegan. I've now switched. I'm a bad person. I've gone to vegetarian. It was the cheese, Claire. It was the cheese.
It's the cheese for so many people.
But also I thought actually it might help with the calcium. So I have been taking a few supplements like that. But it's just going to take time, and it's all about patience. So what they generally say is 3 months better, 6 months it's good, and then I think 12 months normal. Is the hope.
That's the hope.
It's still a little while off being able to run. So at the moment, it's just gentle walking, no impact basically. So no running, no jumping, no dancing,
no climbing trees. No talking, no laughing, no having fun.
So I'm just gentle walking. I am very, very lucky with where we live in the forest. There's lots of lovely, easy hikes around here where it's all good underfoot.
Yes, that's good. And does it hurt when you walk? Is it hurting?
To start off with, it's been just very stiff. And it aches, I would say. I think I've been quite lucky that I've not had real bad pain. It will pinch from time to time. But it's mainly just an ache. It's incredibly stiff, so I'm never going to get full movement back from it again. And I was one of those terrible heel runners.
Heel plant.
Yes. So I'm told that I won't be able to do that again, which is no bad thing. So I will have to run properly.
With the whole foot plant that Sean goes on about. So you're doing a bit of walking, and you also crewed for Keith, your running buddy, on the Epona 100 miler that you were supposed to be doing this June. And he's 70, which, hope for us all. We've got, years and years more to recover and do this kind of thing again. How was it crewing for him? Like both physically and mentally as well? Because it must have been a bit like, I was supposed to be doing this.
I had probably quite a bit more FOMO going into it than during it. So it was really lovely that I was able to help crew for Keith. He's been my running buddy for ages. It was his 70th birthday on the day of the race, which is why he chose it. They made a huge fuss of him. The running company that does the Epona at Pegasus, where they were excellent. They got him cake at the halfway point on his birthday. As you know, with most ultra runs, it's just they're like a big family. All of the volunteers are amazing, and it was a lovely way of becoming part of it still, but without actually running. So I got very little sleep. It took him 34 hours because it was an incredibly hilly race.
Wow, that's amazing.
I think something like 17,000 feet of climb. So yes, taking in quite a bit of the hills of the Black Mountains. It was beautiful. And it was nice to be a part of it. Yes, you got a bit of sadness that I couldn't run any of it with him. I couldn't do any of the pacing in the last bit. But actually, I got to see a different side of it, which was even more fun. And he was at one point in 38th place, and he started overtaking all the young ones and landed up 19th. So age, as he always says to everyone, age is just a number. He's a phenomenal runner, and he's going to be doing the Spine Challenger in January. So yes.
Gosh, and hopefully you'll be able to support him again and maybe do a little bit of jogging alongside him.
I do hope so. I'm taking real baby steps with this. So like I said, no running at the moment. But I've got a physio who gets runners. She's just about to do her first ultra herself, so she understands my aim. So the aim initially is just my first part run. I think again I will look forward to that.
Jog around the block. Exactly.
And whatever else happens, great. will be a bonus.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'd love to be able to sign up to another ultra run, but you know, I've done a lot running up to that, and it might just be that I have to be happy with that, and then just support others and just do gentle jogs.
Yeah, or just, you know, even if you can go out and run 10 miles, like that's, you know, it's a nice day out, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you maybe walk the rest. You know, ultra running is a lot about walking anyway.
Hiking in the Lake District will be back on the list because I've got to overcome a little bit of PTSD, I think, there.
Yeah, definitely. That is for real, definitely. And so what for you is the hardest thing about not being able to run at the moment?
I think there's two things. One is the obvious one, that I'm still eating like I'm running. So I put on a little bit of weight. So yeah, and obviously in terms of weight loss, mental health, all those kind of things. But I think I just miss being able to get out and run with others. Although I'm a bit of a solo runner with my training, once a week I always met up for a run with somebody. And it's just, I really miss that. That real community of runners.
It's not just the running, is it? It's the social side as well. And you know, if you've got a good group of friends that run, like they still want to do their run. Like I know I've been down to running club just at the start or the finish of running club one time, you know, just when I don't know, when I was not running for a while, like after Finley or something like that, just to be in that zone again and just see the people, because they don't want to come for a walk, do they? They want to go for a run.
No, I'm trying to persuade a few people, but the problem is, if you're going for a sizable walk, it's a big chunk of your day. Whereas being able to go out and run for a 5K, you're going out for 30 minutes. It's a much easier thing to do.
Yeah.
As much as I love walking and slowing things down. But yeah, I think it's a combination of things, and just being able to be out in the fresh air and going up a hill. Yeah,
going up a big hill. Yeah. Well, we've got some nice comments. So Severin has a really great idea, actually. I think for 2025, this will be my thing. Severin says, I think we should have a series about older sport people like your friend Keith. It is Keith, isn't it?
Yeah. Keith. You know, he'd love to talk.
Yeah. We could start with him. What's he doing in January 2025? Yeah, we should definitely do that, Severin. That's a brilliant idea. And Jay Giselle says, Sally, you are one tough lady. Wishing you a quick return to more adventurous outings.
Thank you.
Lovely thing to say. And Kat says, I have matching ankle metal from a bike accident.
Wow. And I presume that she's still running.
Yes, very much so. She's always converting other people into ultra running and trail running. So yes, she's very much got the bug. And so with your experience in mind, do you have any advice or any sort of coping strategies that you could suggest to other people who are injured for whatever reason? You know, it could be coming back from having a baby and you can't run for a bit, or you've got plantar fasciitis or a knee problem. Have you got any coping strategies?
So personally, I stopped looking at Strava.
Yeah. Good plan.
Because that just gets a little bit depressing.
Yeah.
But actually, the initial first few weeks, I couldn't even watch anything to do with running.
Yeah.
But I think actually just seeing it, going online and looking and living vicariously actually has helped me quite a bit, because it's just a reminder that it's all still out there. So I haven't completely shied away from that world. I am still watching what other people are doing and getting the joy out of following Barkley and seeing Jasmine Paris finish for the first time. Things like that because it just gives you. Yes, you might not be able to do it. I'll never be able to do that myself, but it just gives you a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
And just focus on the things that you can do. So at the moment, I can still do a walk. I'm still doing the strength training. I'm still doing all of that. And don't focus on what you can't do.
Yeah.
Because there will be a time, hopefully, when you can start picking it back up again.
Yeah.
But there's no point in just thinking about what you can't do.
Yes. Yeah, that's really good advice. Thank you for that, Sally. And so looking more long term then, say that, you get back to a jog and you find that you are able to run in the future, would Epona 100 Ultra be your ultimate aim? Like, would that still be on your radar, like a 5-year plan or anything like that?
Oh, crikey. Well, that's if I know they've done it, they're doing it again for next year. Next year's definitely
Apparently it's sold out already,
yes.
2025.
Oh,
I can't believe it. What's wrong with people? 100 miles?
Well, Keith signed back up for it.
Immediately.
Yeah,
he thinks they're going to bring him cake at halfway again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously being able to do stuff like that. I've never ran 100 miles non-stop. I've done 150 over 3 days. So yeah, I mean, I'd dearly love to be able to do Epona, because it's pretty much on the doorstep. It's really close. They're a lovely company as well. So yes, I mean, but I think just being I'm going to take it back a step. And I would like to go and do a nice trail half marathon.
Yes.
I think that's my target, and I will enjoy it. Somewhere in the Black Mountains, or maybe even a Lakeland Trails one.
Yeah, I love those races. They're the first races that I did when I started doing trail running, and they just were fantastic. I remember I used to be on the start line in all my gear, and then by the first hill, it'd all be tied around my waist, and I'd have like a pocket full of gloves and hats and like 3 layers around my waist, and I was, oh dear, I didn't have anything sorted back in those days. I think I was in my early 20s.
We live and we learn with these races. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be a great aim. And I mean, some people listening to this will be thinking, oh my goodness, like I haven't even done a trail half marathon. Like that would be my ultimate goal in life. So that's great that you're thinking that you might do that and more, because you've done loads, haven't you? Didn't you do 92 miles around the track, your fundraiser that you did in 24 hours?
So during COVID times, obviously it was really limited on what we were able to do, and my mum got diagnosed with a particularly aggressive bowel cancer during the first lockdown.
Oh no.
So it was all a bit traumatic, but when things started opening up again, I thought, well, what can I realistically do? And we've got a bit of an old running track nearby, and it was at that point where you could meet up with a few people. So I think it was April 2021.
Yes, it was the 24th of April.
Oh, there you go.
So I was very confused. For a while, I was very confused because when I write April 2024, I call it April 24. And I was like, how can she have done it in 2024? Didn't she fall over on her ankle in March? So I was very confused for a while. And then I realised it said 2021.
Yeah. So I contacted the school, and they let me run around the running track. And I timed it so that various people could come up and run with me.
At different times, so that you were never over the limit. Oh,
so it was lovely because it was a beautiful moonlit night. I never had to put the head torch on.
Wow.
Vinny was sat there basically just force feeding me throughout. So yes, it was about 92 miles round the track, and for the final lap round, my mum came and joined me.
Oh,
so it was a particularly poignant lap, and a memory I will never ever forget. So it was lovely, and I raised £3,000 for bowel cancer.
Wow, £3,000! That's absolutely incredible, and I bet your mum was so proud of you that day. Yes, that's amazing.
Luckily, she didn't see. She wasn't around to see what happened.
What happened next
in the Lake District? Because otherwise, I think she would have forbidden me from ever doing anything again.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, she'll be looking down on you, sending you good healing vibes, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's been really, really great to chat to you today, Sally. I know you've got to shoot off to your appointment in a minute. I've just got to do a little Naak sponsorship thing before we go. So thanks to Naak Sports Nutrition for sponsoring the live broadcast and the podcast. And I'm looking forward to trying more of their energy gels on my subsequent runs. So if you want to use some, if you want to try it, if you want to get involved with the deliciousness, use the code WildGingerRunning, all caps, for 15% off at uk.naak.com. So thank you so much, Sally. It's been so lovely to chat to you. Where can people follow you if you want people to follow your progress? Like, are you happy to share? Like, you don't have to share your Instagram or anything like that. Like, just realised this is live for everyone on public.
No, my Instagram I think is open. So yeah, I'm just Sally Gilson on Instagram, and I very rarely go on Facebook. So you won't. The last update will actually be my 24-hour around a racetrack, I think, on Facebook. Yeah, mainly on Instagram. So follow the progress there.
Yeah, awesome. And they can read all about the Mountain Rescue as well.
Yes.
And Savreen says, she says, Sally, you can do whatever you set your mind to.
Thank you.
And today says that 3K raised is a great achievement. So yeah, you're doing amazing things, and we will be keeping all the patrons abreast of your progress as well, because you are a very generous, loyal supporter of the Wild Ginger Running YouTube channel, for which I am very, very grateful. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Claire. You are such a trailblazer, I think, for one of the few females in the ultra running world.
Yeah, yes. I realised that the other day when I was trying to look for some YouTubers for Mel from Due North, and I was like, I was saying, oh yeah, you could get this YouTuber to come and this YouTuber to come, but I think it's only me and Flora who really do the running, and you know, she's very good at the running, and I'm like the only one that's, you know, not, you know, I'm okay, but I'm the only sort of normal person doing it. So I just thought the other day I really should make some more videos of what I'm up to at the moment. I had bronchitis for like 3 months, so not been doing much, but yes, but thank you, Sally, for supporting the channel. It really does mean a lot.
My pleasure.
And it's been really fun talking to you today. And I just wish you all the best for your recovery.
Thank you.
Because
thank you, Claire.
I think you're going to be running the Epona in 2026.
Oh,
fingers crossed.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thanks very much. And thanks for listening, everybody. And goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.